Friday, the final day of the week. These are the voyages of the program Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Its ongoing mission to explore strange new movies, to seek out new bits and new edifications, to boldly go where no radio program has gone before. Oh, Elkent's Movie Club. It's Elkent's Movie Club. Elkent's Movie Club. It's Elkent's Movie Club.
Indeed it is. It is time for Kent's Movie Club, where today we are talking about the 2010 movie True Grit. Kent, hello. How are you? It looks like you're muted. Yep. And there we go. Hey, Kent.
Am I good to go now?
You are great to go. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing tremendous. Have you battened down the hatches for the day with the storm coming in?
I am safely in the basement. I'm going nowhere.
Mike Schaefer was the chooser of the movie this week. It is the remake of True Grit. Schaefer, take it away. Give us the synopsis as we dive into the discussion.
Yeah, True Grit is a remake of the 1969 film starring John Wayne. It involves a 14-year-old Maddie Ross, played by Haley Steinfeld, in what I'm guessing is one of her earliest roles. Heads to an Arkansas town looking for justice on the man who killed her father. She's ignored by most every person in the town. However, her headstrong nature ultimately results in convincing U.S. Marshal Rooster Cogburn, played by Jeff Bridges, to give chase to the assailant. The two are joined by a Texas Ranger known as LaBouffe, played by Matt Damon, who also has reason to hunt down the fugitive. The three struggle to coexist with multiple different motivations for the chase. I wanted to pick this movie, Kent, because I love Coen Brothers movies.
Yes, you do.
And this one surprised me when it came out. This movie means a lot to me for a lot of different reasons. I went to it Christmas Day with my dad. It surprised me because the Coen Brothers are known for kind of their own original storytelling, their own kind of spin and take on things. And they played this like a pretty straight Western story. Like there wasn't, and even a lot of the dialogue from the original made it over into the remake. Or from the actual story from the book made it into the remake. It's fascinating that such individualized filmmakers like the Coen Brothers could just play a straight remake like this. And I thought it turned out really well.
How well I thought it turned out, I went and looked this up because I knew that I had ranked it pretty highly. It was my number 2 movie of 2010.
Was it behind Social Network?
Correct.
Yeah, that's my favorite movie of the entire decade. So
really,
oh yeah, I love the Social Network.
Interesting.
I rewatched that movie so much.
I've only seen it like 3 times.
I've probably rewatched it twice a year. Yeah, not to turn this into a Social Network conversation. Oh, sorry, you go.
Well, what I was going to say, as far as the remake aspect of it, some of the lines that carried over, I believe, were actually from the book and not from that John Wayne movie screenplay, because they went back and made this movie closer to the book than the John Wayne movie was, and in particular, the Haley Stanfield character is 14 in this. In the John Wayne movie, she was in her 20s and played by Kim Darby. And then she had this romantic thing for the Ranger, who was played by Glenn Campbell, who as an actor was a really good singer. And that was eliminated by this movie. And it also made her ability to kind of survive in the Western territory much more problematic than somebody in their 20s who'd shown herself to be pretty capable of doing some stuff by that time. So that changed that's the biggest change from that movie. And then you throw in really the interesting thing, this is the only John Wayne got his only Oscar for the role, and Jeff Bridges got nominated for an Oscar for the same role, which I believe is the only time that's ever happened.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
That, like, the same character.
The same character, same basic movie, two different actors got Best Actor nominated for it.
Interesting. Kent, Shafe said it a few minutes ago when he was setting this up that, the Coen Brothers movies, I mean, they certainly have a way about them, right? Like, there is a very specific kind of flair and maybe dialogue or storytelling mechanisms that they use. And when he mentioned that this is more of a straight Western, I was thinking of No Country for Old Men, which came out 3 years before this. And that is my favorite Coen Brothers movie. And that one messes with time a little bit. And there is a little bit more, I guess you have to guess on what happens to some characters. I mean, one very famous death in the movie, they don't even show. It happens and it's over. And suddenly
they mess with your expectations. They subvert your expectations in a way that you were totally unprepared for.
Which I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, I don't really like this, but I was also an 18-year-old moron. Whereas now I watch that movie and
34-year-old moron.
36-year-old moron, double the age. But this movie, much more straight in terms of its storytelling and in terms of how everything unfolds. In a way, there's I think it is both a happy and a melancholy ending at the same time. And I don't know how much we do or don't want to spoil. Again, this movie is, it's 14 years old, and then the original goes all the way back to the 60s. But just how it kind of skips suddenly ahead however many years, and then the movie is just kind of over. But I remember not liking it the first time I saw it. Again, a young moron in 2010, 2011. Very much enjoyed it, though, this time around, given, I think, in particular, the two main characters. I'd forgotten that Matt Damon was even in this movie.
Same.
He is awesome in this movie. Matt Damon, I thought he shows up, he disappears, and then he comes back. And I really enjoyed that character because not like that character is a bundle of joy or someone that I would want to spend time with. But I thought that he played that character very, very well.
Yeah, I think the whole part of the reason, let's put it this way. It looks to me like, just based on their filmmaking history and what some of their movies, like going back to Blood Simple, kind of allude to, are very much these kind of, quote, Western stories, but they're not a horse opera, so to speak, right? Mm-hmm. You could have made Blood Simple into a Western in a second, right? Their very first movie. I mean, it's not, you start, and then you go all the way up to what was called Buster Scruggs, the horror episode thing, which was classic. Those, they were quirky, they were Coen Brothers-esque, but everything that they were set in was classic Westerns. And I think they wanted to make a classic Western. I really think that was what really motivated them on this. And so they stuck to the classic and didn't put a spin on it.
Ken, I mean, it's obviously it's 14 years removed from it, but can you go back and recall how you felt about Haley Steinfeld after that performance? Because just rewatching it, and I watched it this morning. She was incredible. Like, she holds her own away in that movie that, for someone who hasn't been in a lot of roles at that point, I think someone on YouTube in the comments said Ender's Game.
Ender's Game came out a few years after that.
Oh, so was this her?
This was like her second or third movie.
Yeah, so, I mean, I thought she was terrific. I really did. And she's someone I've kind of always enjoyed. I don't seek her work out, but Edge of 17 is a movie that she's in with Woody Harrelson that
honestly,
I thought was
Bumblebee's really
fantastic.
Good too.
I never wanted to see that because I have a very anti-Transformers bias.
It's a good
but
watch it.
Yeah, I really thought she was really good, and it seems like she's going to be, in the entertainment sense for a long time.
For a long time. What I wrote back then, if you want to know what I thought then.
Yeah.
This is what I talked about before, so you get this. The major change created by adhering to the novel is that Maddie Ross, the girl who hires Cogburn to track down the drifter who murdered her father, is 14 rather than about 20. That means she doesn't fall for Texas Ranger LaBeouf and her age and aptitude for a cross-country chase are constantly in question. That's a far meatier role than given to Kim Darby. Haley Steinfeld handles it perfectly, giving the movie its driving spark and likely setting her up for an Oscar nomination.
Wow. Was she nominated?
I don't think so.
Oh, wow.
Sad.
Interesting. Yeah,
I mean,
she was.
It was a stacked year. I mean, The Social Network.
Yeah, great movie, Nick, which didn't win, which is very sad. I don't know if I've seen anything else with her as I scroll through.
Oh, you got to see Edge of 17.
I've never even heard of the Edge of 17.
Haven't watched any of the Pitch Perfect movies?
I haven't watched any of the Pitch Perfect movies.
They're actually, the first one of those is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
The first one's pretty okay.
I read Ender's Game, but I never watched the movie. Oh, no, wait, never mind. I have seen, I watched season 1 of Hawkeye, so I have seen her. I didn't realize that was her.
there only one season of Hawkeye?
There was only one season of Hawkeye
Yeah.
back in 2021, and then that was one of the last Marvel shows, and then I hit the eject button. Yeah, she was great. She, like Shafe mentioned at the start of the conversation with her, I mean, she held her own, and she held her own versus, some of the most famous actors we have, over and over and over and over again throughout the movie.
I would love to go back. I'm jumping around here. I would love to go back and whether it's the source material of the book or the original movie, or if it's the Coen Brothers kind of working it in there. There's a lot of scenes, and I don't know if you guys noticed this as well, but there's a lot of scenes that end with Jeff Bridges just having like the ultimate perfect line for then it to jump to the next scene. And he is one of those amazing actors that we've seen him transform throughout his career. I go all the way back to when I was in college. I watched The Last Picture Show, and that was like his very first role. And so, like having seen him in all these different roles, and now he's playing Rooster Cogburn, and he's just this sarcastic wit, and it just felt so perfect for the dialogue and everything. I had seen the John Wayne before I saw True Grit in 2010. It's like hard to square those up as the same Rooster Cogburn. Like they don't fit for me. Like it's wild because they both got nominated and people really like both performances, but they're just wildly different actors, wildly different personifications of Rooster Cogburn.
And shot in a wildly different times.
Yeah.
Jeff Bridges' performance wouldn't have flown in a 60s Western. It's too
sardonic.
Yeah, and it's too contemporary, right? It's too Westerns were good guys, bad guys, no nuance back. So
no gray.
So the thing that I think about it with Jeff Bridges here is this came the year after Crazy Heart. I
love that movie
for Crazy Heart, and then turned around and did this and got Oscar nominated. This was a guy at his absolute peak at the time and playing, I mean, I hadn't really ever thought about comparing the country singer who starts the movie in Crazy Heart by peeing in a jug while driving to a motel with Rooster Cogburn, but it's not, they're interesting characters, shall we say.
Nick, what did you think of the movie?
You guys, Bertie, have touched on a lot of the things that I've wanted to touch on. There's one thing that I've been trying to kind of reconcile with myself just over the last, 10 years or so. I have never, growing up or whatever, I've never really liked Western movies, like the Clint Eastwood movies. Like, I understand why people like them, but I could never get into them. I was always more sci-fi. The first movie Western that I actually watched that I enjoyed was 310 to Yuma.
The remake?
The remake of 310 to Yuma.
I love that movie.
And then over the years, I've realized that I like modern Westerns, but not
the classics.
The classics. And I don't know what the reason for that is, because a lot of these, like, I love this movie, but it's the same. You guys said it was basically the same story as the other one. But if I sat down and I bet if I watched the old one, I think I would have a hard time getting through it. When this one, I was locked in.
Oh, sorry.
I just don't know what that is.
Two things. One, this is my theorem anyway, and I've presented it a couple times. My view is that sci-fi movies replace the Western, and they're the same. And most sci-fi movies are westerns in space to some man.
True.
Right?
That is what Firefly is.
Yeah. So it's kind of a substitution thing, right? So that is, and then the second thing is filmmaking style. One of the reasons you probably don't identify with those old westerns in particular is that these were not expensively made movies. Okay.
Mhm.
These were very stock produced. Henry Hathaway that directed this had been directing movies since the 20s, and he probably made 50 westerns, right? And they made them in the same way. So they have a look and a feel and a style that's very dated. And they don't have the kind of performances that, like I was talking about, with the nuance within the script, and also with the what do I want to call it, visual style or film it, and so for modern eyes and ears, those old westerns just may not connect, right? Where when you see the same story done in a contemporary fashion, they will connect. But I think there's also something to people of, quote, your generation. The Western was the sci-fi movie.
Okay.
That's interesting, Ken.
That does make sense.
And it's funny. I wanted to ask you, and so this is great that it comes right off of Nick's comment. Like, what is the place of Westerns in 2024 and beyond, do you think? I mean, there will always be a place for these types of movies, I think. But it does seem to me that they do kind of ebb and flow, where it seems like some years we'll have a stretch where it's like, oh, hey, 2 or 3 or 4 Western movies are going to come out. And then suddenly it dries up a little bit.
Well, and it depends on what you want to call a, quote, Western. Okay. And the reason I say that is, are you talking about a horse opera, right? Of guys on horses and or are you talking about a movie with the Western sensibility that's more contemporary? And by that, I'll go Hell and High Water.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Kent.
That's a great Western. That was my best movie of the year, whatever year it came out. That's a great Western, but it's not something that, if you look right at it, a lot of people are not going to identify it as a Western. There may not even be one horse in that movie, I don't think. Right? But don't you think, Mike, a great Western?
Yeah, I love Hell or High Water. That was probably my favorite movie from that year. I mean, for those that don't know, that's a Taylor Sheridan
he wrote it.
movie. And
amazing.
So I actually considered picking that when I was looking through the Paramount Plus
2016
selections that I
way.
had as a company man.
Nice.
So, but no, I agree with what Kent's saying. I think that, if you're looking for just kind of the horse opera, it's probably not going to be consistently there, though. I didn't see it. There was a Netflix movie with Benedict Cumberbatch. And
I hated that movie.
I didn't. Power of the Dog.
We did that for the movie club.
Okay.
And I really liked it.
I never saw it.
I hated
so I
it.
don't know.
thought that was a great
Mike,
movie.
you'll like it. Watch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
Fantastic.
Sounds like for me then.
Trust me.
It is a tough look for you for many reasons.
Oh, settle down.
And trust me, it is not a mainstream Western, shall we say?
It isn't. Great.
I was happy that didn't win the Oscar. That was the year of I think Nomad won, right? Nomadland.
Yeah.
I think wanted that. I was very happy that Nomadland won. I did not like Power of the Dog.
Another quick aside.
Yeah.
The second I stopped or I was done watching this movie, I went to go play Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
I was just in such the vibe.
I sent that text to a friend. I was like, I think I'm going to be in a Red Dead Redemption mood after watching this.
I'm there.
Perfect timing. Football season's coming to a close. So that'll be great. Sorry, Kent.
Yeah, Michael know this. That's a Jane Campion movie, The Power of the Dog. So
Okay.
you know what you're getting into there. It's not going to be a straight up Western.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I found myself very bored by that movie.
What are some other modern westerns then? Because
Well,
I feel like I don't hear.
I mean, No
about
Country. Have you seen No Country for Old Men?
Yeah.
Okay.
You hit 310 to Yuma. I thought that was a really good one. And Hell or High Water.
I mean, if you want, was it Bone Tomahawk?
Never saw that movie.
That's a Western horror mashup. If you really want to get weird, which you'd like to.
I do.
So.
I like weird.
So
I think that's Kurt Russell.
I searched best westerns in the last 10 years. Some others that Google gave me were a couple that I was thinking of: Hateful Eight, Tarantino,
I like
saw
it.
it. My
Django-
dad hated that movie.
Django Unchained.
I love Django.
Love Django as well.
Deadwood the movie. I forgot about Deadwood the movie. There Will Be Blood.
Rango.
Oh,
Rango is a western.
Rango's
It also
really
steals
good.
its plot from Chinatown, but it's a western.
Ken, I thought about picking There Will Be Blood. I rewatched that a couple years ago for the first time since college, and yet again found myself blown away by a movie that I thought was just fine when I was in college.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen There Will Be Blood?
No.
My God, what's it? Daniel Day-Lewis is.
Daniel Day-Lewis, and that one is
He is so
That-
good.
I
that
didn't know
was
that was a western.
for a while.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe the more of the motif. It's about a guy who discovers oil, but
But
it's about
it's-
power and capitalism taking over you.
The change on the frontier, basically.
That is cool. I like that.
And
so
boy,
built.
that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah,
That was the plot of the first Red Dead game, basically.
there you go.